Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss some thoughts bouncing around on Twitter in these mad political times about how we may end up with a very broad consensus for a more representative electoral system. Imagine saying that we should recruit Conservatives to the PR cause. Don't be mad, Phil. The Conservative Party is the only one that gains from first past the post. They'll never win power with PR, so they'll never back it. Well, that's true and it's not true. I've often said myself that PR will lock the Tories out of power, but not the Conservatives, if we draw a distinction, which doesn't, I suppose, technically exist. The Conservative Party can absolutely win power under PR system, albeit in coalition, but we are at a political crossroads in British history here. The Conservative Party, from the point of view of one nation Conservatives, is infected. The way I see it, before I get on to other arguments flying around, which do overlap anyway, is that post-election, this is what Conservatives with a small c, as they're often called, face. First, they can try to retake control of their party. Indeed, this may be their plan. The plan will fail. Depending on the results, the far right of the party may be proportionally stronger in terms of raw numbers. They will certainly be stronger in terms of narrative. They will blame moderation for the catastrophic loss and insist that more extreme policies are required to distinguish themselves from Labour. This argument will have a willing audience within the billionaire-owned media, and it seems likely a significant section of the Conservative Party membership as well. This will chart a course which takes them further away from the centre ground, fighting over the same pool of votes as Reform UK, which is what's landed them in the mess they are now anyway. Second option is to take Reform UK out and, with their right flank secure once more, turn their attention back to voters in the centre. However, the only way to do this is effectively facilitate what many Tory MPs are increasingly openly calling for, an invitation for Nigel Farage to take the leadership of the party. A Faustian pact which some adherents may believe can unite Farage's support with natural Conservative support. However, Farage is very Marmite, as are his politics. Yes, he has a cult-like following amongst a significant section of the voter base, but he's actively reviled by most of the rest. There will be some Conservative voters who don't like Farage, who will hold their nose and still vote Conservative, even with Nigel Farage in charge. That's just how tribal they are. But the party would also lose other voters for whom Farage is a stench too far. Third option is a managed breakup of the right wing of politics. The Conservatives have survived for generations as the only show in town on the right wing, whilst Labour have endured more and more parties nibbling away at the vote on the left. If the right wing vote is going to be split as well, and right now it's split more than the left really, then a managed divorce may be the best option. But with the current first past the post system, you need that broad church to win power. So that's no good. Unless, of course, you change the system to one which specifically works on the basis of coalition. The bottom line is that all my life, and for a long time before, both Labour and the Conservative Party have been a coalition anyway. There's some common purpose there, but also disagreement, sometimes on fundamentals of important policies. Every time there's a leadership contest, there's this big factional battle where lots of people back the champion from their tribe. They don't even think about the strength of the leadership qualities, not a consideration. Who's in my tribe? Right, I'm picking that one. A victor emerges, the winning faction rejoices, and the losing ones chunter and await a future opportunity. This is a system which positively invites infighting, because when a losing faction smells blood, any sort of weakness in the one who won, regardless of what's best for the party, regardless of what's best for the country, they will seek to supplant the leader with their own choice, which of course means, oh, the leader looks a bit weak, let's weaken them even more. We've seen it with the Conservatives, it's happened with Labour, we've seen it in both. But the Conservatives have traditionally been fairly good at keeping a lot of it behind closed doors, helped by a helpful media. Not so much these days. But what Farage and his allies have planned for the Conservative Party is not simply winning a future factional battle, it is the permanent takeover of the Conservative Party. The model for Reform UK is telling, isn't it? They talk about members. Oh, we've had loads of new members, but they're really subscribers. There is no party structure. These subscribers do not have any role in policy consultations or candidate selection whatsoever. Would-be candidates pay a fee and submit a form, and the decision is made by the people who own the party like a business. This would be the intended model surely for the Conservative Party as well. Farage persuaded voters to sell themselves and their country into servitude, and he'll persuade Conservative members to do the same. Oh, you can trust me. You can totally trust me. Vote away all your power and give me a blank cheque. Effectively, what Nigel Farage is doing to the Conservative Party right now is the equivalent of burning down the Reichstag. And the only way to deal with it is to put me in charge and give me complete executive control. And it may well be that this course of events is already set, or maybe it's not. But maybe One Nation Conservatives could be persuaded of the benefits of PR, because it means the concept of the broad church party is much diminished. Doesn't go away completely. It is much diminished. It means the Conservatives with a small c can be part of a party much more palatable to, say, a future Lib Dem coalition at least, one that doesn't consign the Lib Dems to almost total destruction at the following election by association with the craziest policies. A way to form a mainstream party that holds their conservative values without having the swivel-eyed loons completely cock it all up. They can form their own party and try to win enough votes to also get in a future coalition government, because right now moderate Conservatives don't really seem to have options. They can try to hang on in the hope that we're at an inflection point and it will reverse in another 10 years, but that risks their party being permanently changed completely unopposed. You know, they've sat by and done nothing throughout all the Brexit years, and it hasn't got any better for them. They cannot just abandon ship and form their own party, because it wouldn't have enough backing and they'd be abandoning the party brand. They probably don't just want to join the Lib Dems because there'll be ideological differences to prevent enough doing so. Also worth considering something else. So we already know that younger generations are not turning Conservative as they approach middle age as the older ones did. So even if the Conservatives decide, let's say they sit back and let's say Reform UK can burn itself out and the Conservatives become more sensible again in, say, another decade, they're going to find that a lot of that natural support has died off and not been replaced by other voters getting older. Giles Wilkes, who has advised Theresa May in the past, has sort of mused on this. His Institute for Government now has been musing on this on Twitter, I've noticed. He feels that the Conservatives may bet on Reform UK being too flaky to pose a problem for them in the long term. I think this would be an error. It is true that Farage himself may well drop away in the next few years. He drinks and smokes heavily, and his health may well deteriorate really quite rapidly. But although it is true that Farage is a spectacular rallying banner for the swivel-eyed loons, he's not strictly essential. Even when he was taking a back seat, Reform UK under the much duller Richard Tice were causing the Conservatives to crap their pants. And they've done it with relatively low funding because the media have found it useful, for one reason or another, to indulge them. Can Reform UK permanently hobble the Conservatives? And if so, do we just wait for them to realise, or do we reach out and suggest, well, there's another way here? One which means they don't have to get into bed with extremists like Braverman and Farage, but where seats in government are possible if they're willing to compromise. A system where people feel better represented and more engaged, and it would also provide an excuse to abandon Brexit and therefore open the party up to the possibility of once again electing leaders who aren't ideologically wedded to the most insane policy in British history since King Canute sat on the beach and told the sea to piss off. And should we leave Conservatives to work this out for themselves, or actively reach across to those with a sense of honour who don't actually want to live in a fascist Britain, much less act as handmaidens as it did with Brexit? You know, should they cut their losses, join the fight for a better electoral system? Because if they do, they may have to do it sooner rather than later. After the election, there should still be enough of them that if they want to fight, they can gain control of their party. Beyond that, they may struggle. If they allow another loony in as leader, that loony may well cut off access to candidate selections for the more moderate One Nation Tories at the following election, after which that's it, their party's finished. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.